Has your favorite hero recently hit the living legend status, and now you've been left to wander the icy depths, the sad streets of loneliness, as the best hero in the entire game that's ever been made ever, seriously, end of story, best hero in the game, finally rotates? Are you worried that you don't know where to go and what to do? Well, I've got a video for you, because today we're going to talk about all the heroes that you can move to that are very similar to the heroes that you already know and love within the Blitz format. Starting with none other than Chain. Chain was the first hero to rotate in this season, and he was oppressive. He was disgusting. He was very good. He could do a lot of things. And in fact, he had two different decks and two different ways to build him that made him very successful. And one of those archetypes is incredibly easy to pivot to in the next Shadow Runeblade hero. Vynnset is the other Shadow Runeblade hero, and she brings in with her to the game the Runegate package. Runegate attacks and things that buff Runegated attacks, and that is exactly what Chain was doing at the end of his run towards the Living Legend status. He was incorporating this Runegate package because he could give those things go again naturally. Now, she can't do that, but she can play heavily into the Runegate package, and she is very potently able to push lots of damage with that Runegate package, and that is where you can connect Chain to Vynnset. And if you're looking for a starting point list, then I want to point you to no further than Yonji Lee's battle-hardened first place Salt Lake City list. He won the battle-hardened in Salt Lake City off of this run by Realm Games. This list was what he brought to the table, and it just cleaned house. And it's been a couple of months of iterating and building and changing the deck, so you could start here and really kind of see what other people are doing with the list and how to build off of it. Maybe you cut Oblivion, maybe you just leave it all in and try it out for yourself. I love the inclusion of Deathly Whales as like one of the best cards in the game for Vynnset because it builds up those chants. And of course, you have to play the old Mauvrion Skies for the go again and the combos. This is just a fantastically put together deck, and it works great. This is a fantastic starting point to really pick up Vynnset and see how she likes to incorporate the Runegate package off of the back of things like Runeblood Incantation, Envelop in Darkness, not Envelope, Envelop in Darkness, so on and so forth. And heck, you even get to play Pummels. By the way, if you want this list, I'm leaving all of the lists for all of these decks and heroes in the description. Thank you all to those that shared with me, and for those that, topped at events like this list, for example. Congratulations, and thanks for sharing it with the community. The next hero to ride off into the sunset in Blitz is Kassai Centauri Sellsword, and she is a wonderful hero that has just been incredibly consistent throughout the lifespan of her hero, and just got even stronger as Blood on Her Hands was introduced. And you may think it might be hard to replace this hero and what she does, but Dorthia Quicksilver Prodigy actually fits the same mold incredibly well. You can still swing your sword twice. You are guaranteeing almost every single turn that you're giving go again to your sword so that you're able to go once and then twice. You can play a lot of the same attack reaction, combat tricks in a lot of the same ways. In the deck itself, just functions remarkably similarly, unfortunately losing out on the Blood on Her Hands because it was a Kassai specialization. Nevertheless, take a look at this list by none other than Sloopdoop. The man's an absolute gem for sharing this with me. And by the way, if you want to see him do a full breakdown of this list and talk about why gore belching is in it as well, if you want to know the combo, go on over to his channel. Link is in the description. Go check it out. He's going to make a video about this exact list. But if you look at the composition of this, you're going to notice a lot of similar things that you had in Kassai. Hit and runs, in the swings. I mean, like a very similar package of Spoils of War, Slice and Dice, things that you already ran, but now you get to include some other stuff like Glistening Steelblade, which is disgusting and I hate it. Steelblade Supremacy, which is also disgusting and I hate it. But then again, I played, Kano, so like people hate that too. I understand. At the same time, I totally understand. This list, by the way, like I said, link in the description. And of course, check out Sloopdoop for sending me this on over and for the full breakdown of how this plays. But now we come to a tough one, because this is the best hero that has ever been printed in Flesh and Blood. Kano has officially ridden off into the sunset. This was the deck that made me fall in love with heroes, just married to heroes. Like the deck that made me want to get better at the game, or specifically at a hero, so that it made you get better at the game. You know, this was a deck that I incredibly resonated with. And I know a lot of people, especially with like a lot of the powerful heroes like Chain and, you know, that sort of stuff, right? A lot of people either loved them or hated them. So I understand if you do not feel that way about Kano, but for me, this was just an incredible thing to like commit yourself to a hero and to like then foil it out and really experience like the beauty of having like that deck, you know? And it's hard to say goodbye to it. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, there's no replacing Kano. So as far as this is concerned, there's not much that I can say. Except that we're Emperor gamers now. Let's go, it's Emperor time. This is Breezy's Emperor list, and I think he gave me permission to show this. He's played 105 matches of this since last November, for over a year, sitting at a 65% win rate. And this has basically been the list the entire time. He's literally just added like Tome of the Imperial Flame. This deck, by the way, I was also playing it all the way back in the day, and he was markedly better at it. I remember running into him and actually playing a mirror match of this deck, and he cleaned my clock. He just wiped the floor with me. Swept the floor? Wiped the floor? Anyway, he destroyed me with this deck, and it's all about playing kind of like a Rune Blade, kind of like a Warrior Wizard. We're playing our attacks like Ravenous Rabbles, our Scar for a Scars, because we start with less life, baby. That's the way to do it. And we're jamming down our Blaze Headlongs, and we're following it up with Arcane damage. And Arcane damage is cool because wizards are cool. That's just the facts, okay? Wizards are cool. And then we get to block with our equipment because blocking is nice. We get a fridge, and we can also kill our opponent on their turn at instant speed off of the back of Emeritus Scolding. So he's actually going to make a video this week about this deck because I think this is one of the best positioned decks in Blitz going forward. So check out his channel, link in the description as well. And if you want a personalized version of my deck, then join the Patreon because I'm going to be posting my version of this deck. It's pretty similar. I like take away 4 or 6 cards from this list and swap them out for some other stuff. And it's basically my list in a lot of respects. But I think those 4 or 6 cards, maybe even 8 to some degree, because I don't know about no. Anyway, maybe even 8. I think change the way that the deck plays completely. But this version is going to get broken down by Breezy. And look, I mean, he put his money where his mouth is. The dude's played it. He knows what he's up to. So if you want this version of this list, I think it's a great starting point if you're coming off Kano. With 2 weeks left in the skirmish season, it's all but guaranteed that these next few heroes will rotate via the Living Legend system. So let's talk about how you replace Ira. She's been she was the first hero in the game, and she's been a mainstay of Blitz since Blitz was invented during like the pandemic. She is the quintessential hero in Flesh and Blood, so much so that, well, she was the first hero and was the only deck in the Welcome Deck product line, if you even want to call it that. She was the first, and in some cases, she's the best ninja in the game. But how do you replace her? Well, for this one, there's a caveat, because technically Ira could be played aggressively and also very defensively. So I'll give you 2 options. One, if you want to play defensively or just sort of like more of a kind of slow-paced until it just explodes deck, maybe pick up Benji. Benji feels very similar to Ira. In fact, Benji's ability is very similar to Ira's in that Ira was guaranteed second chain link, always +1. Benji is, well, sort of once per turn, when an attack hits, next thing +1. Very similar in respect. It could be a nice stepping stone, and you can do some interesting stuff with Benji being unblockable. But if you want aggression, look no further than Fi. I think Fi has a lot going for him in Blitz and is going to get better and better now that some of these heroes rotate. And here's a list that proves it. This is Yudi Chen's battle-hardened Tokyo top 3 deck list in Blitz, of course, as you can see. And it is basically what you would expect to see in a Fi list, and really in a Blitz list, with a couple of exceptions. We're including some down and dirties for some angel popping shenanigans. We are running a royal version, so we get to jam cash in and just draw a bajillion cards, which I personally love. The addition of Censor is also really good. Command and Conquer is always solid, but the core of this list is very much a go like super wide, be like water, blaze headlong, double strike, lava burst. I mean, you're jamming down lots of attacks. And of course, you get to play with the new tome thanks to your Crown of Dominion plays. So this is basically Royal Fi, and I think this is going to be very good going forward. There's definitely some concessions, like I mentioned, to popping angels, and I think that may also be very important going forward. But I really like where this list was, and that's why I wanted to feature it. So thank you, Yudi Chin, for, first of all, finishing top 3 with a cool list like this, and second of all, sharing it with the world off of the back of Fabrary, collecting it and sharing it with the world, which is pretty awesome. Yes, that's right. Based on the point totals left in Skirmish season, there's a chance that Dorthia straight up Living Legends out of the format. And how do you replace Kassai and Dorthia? 2 warriors. Like, what do you do? Where do you go if you want to play that sort of style of warrior? I mean, it's the same. You just play Dorthia. You just do Dorthia again. You just play Quicksilver Prodigy. You just play the same list I mentioned earlier. Sloopdoop. Go check it out. There it is, Sloopdoop. And finally for today, Dash has been an absolute mainstay and in some cases menace of the format by being able to just bring in Teklo Pounders and just punch people in the face. It has been that way ever since she got Teklo Pounder. And it's gonna be kind of strange because this is a deep cut. If we go all the way down to Dash on one Skirmish season, that is a lot of heroes going. But this is an interesting one because there's a couple of heroes that could replace Dash, but I've got a spicy pick for you. That's right, it's Maxx the Hype Nitro. I say Maxx is due for a breakout performance because you can play the boost kind of strategy, except you can now include more expensive cards, you know, that cost 2 or 3 and boost for bigger amounts of damage off of the back of your hyperdrivers. But you can also play a fun little combo in the form of Nitro Mechanoid. And so for the spicy list of the video, I'm going to give you my current Maxx Nitro deck list. This is what I've been messing around with. Yes, it is more leaning on the back of the Nitro Mechanoid construct, trying to build that up. We are playing Hyperdriver Reds. We are boosting a lot with, 0 costs so that we can also justify running max velocity. But we've got the high octane in there and we're able to jam it down and run it out there. One inclusion, if you don't want to play the more budget version that I have right here, one inclusion you could really lean into heavily is adding twin drives. So this is a really good starting point list, but if you want to cut something like these zipper hit yellows for a couple of other reds in the form of twin drives. I left them out because it's cheaper, but if you have the twin drives and they are a little bit pricey, not terrible, this is a good next step. But if you don't have it, did I just cut the wrong thing? I probably just cut the wrong thing. I don't know. Cut the zipper hits. That's what I said. If you don't have it, then that's okay. Just run the cheaper version. But Twin Drive is super good in this deck with high octane, of course. It's just like Dash IO. And yes, we could have picked Dash IO for this exact hero, but I thought we'd give Maxx some love because I actually think being able to just pop out those hyperdrivers and pushing like bigger damage potentials, like restructuring this deck to not play the Mechanoid and instead to just lean into bigger boost attacks like all the throttles and other 6 costs, yeah, that can do some serious damage. And look, I know it's difficult to say goodbye to the heroes that you love. I personally am going to feel very much in the way of feelings when I take apart my Kano deck so that I can build Emperor as he deserves. But just remember that there's always the chance that we could play these heroes again in this format, in the Living Legend format. And if they create a Living Legend Blitz format, it's already got like 7 heroes in it. So, it's pretty diverse already in that respect. And even if they don't, Just remember all the beautiful times you had with the decks that you loved, and that this is an opportunity to make new memories with new decks. If you enjoy this video, make the number go slightly higher so that we can hit a larger number and then celebrate hitting larger numbers, and then press more buttons. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.